in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, often referred to as the Grand Lady of the Ozarks. It is said the hotel is haunted, not only by one ghost, but by many. Over the years, numerous hotel guests as well as employees have reported seeing things they couldn't explain. One of the most commonly seen ghosts in the hotel is that of a phantom nurse, dressed in 1930s style uniform, pushing a hospital cart down the hall. She has been most often seen on the third floor. The ghost of a young college girl who committed suicide by jumping from the top floor balcony has been often seen running up and down the hotel staircase. A gentleman dressed in stylish clothing of the 1890 period has been reported seen in the lobby area on numerous occasions. One assistant manager walked toward him to investigate. The figure turned and climbed the hotel stairs and disappeared. An old man no one seems to know seems to be frequently seen around the hotel. He appears and disappears. After being closed during the winter months, a housekeeper entered the hotel to begin cleaning. She unlocked the dining room door and was shocked to see a group of people sitting at a table being served by a waiter. Knowing the kitchen was closed, she called the manager, and they both returned to investigate. When they looked, the room was completely empty. The most common ghost around the hotel is that of a Swedish carpenter who fell to his death during the hotel's construction in 1886. Hotel employees refer to this mischievous apparition as Michael. Although Michael is most often seen in the laundry room area, several have also reported seeing him strolling the hotel grounds.
My office is in the basement, where there's a lot of ghost stories about that. I was going to my office in the wintertime one year, with my arms full of books, and I was in an area where there weren't any doors, windows. I heard somebody whisper, "Good morning," very loud. I was surprised. I turned completely around, looking for somebody. There wasn't anybody there. It didn't dawn on me until I got to my office. It was probably Michael the ghost.
Myself and a desk clerk were working up here, and it's middle of summer, and we had an old switchboard at that time. It's one of those old type that you plug in, and you come on and say, "May I help you?" and things like that. Well, we never opened the Crescent Springs up at all, except for wedding receptions. Well, it was closed, and about 2 or 3 times there, we kept getting a call up from the Crescent Springs, and we'd answer, and somebody had taken that telephone off the hook, but you couldn't hear it. There was nobody answering. Well, I said, well, I'll go down there and check it out and see if there's not some kid down there playing a prank on us. So I went down there and opened the door up. As soon as I opened the door up, I got the biggest chill bumps over me because I knew there was somebody in there. I mean, it's so dark and so cold down there. I went back there. I took the phone off the hook, called the front desk, and I said, there's nothing down here. I said, this phone's on the hook. I said, but I'm getting out of here. And so I put it on the hook, went and then ran out of there, locked the door, and came back upstairs. 5 minutes later, it's doing it again. I mean, we had 2 or 3 people plug into there and say, you doing front desk, can I help you? And that phone was off the hook. But, there was nobody there.
Well, I've worked here about 19 years, and I never thought too much about it being haunted or anything, but I did some years ago have something real peculiar happen to me. I was checking the rooms, the vacant and ready rooms, and I unlocked 214, and I had it a little bit open, and I was pushing at the doorknob, and it would feel like hands up here that would just give it a quick slam, and it did me that way 4 or 5 times. And one of the other girls was coming in 216. She was standing there at the car, and she saw me doing this. She said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "I can't get the door open. Somebody's holding it." So it did me that way 4 or 5 times. So then I come through this door, and I went in here and I called down the front desk and asked them if anyone was in there, and they said, no, there isn't. It's reserved for tonight. And so I went and tried to open it again. It done the same thing. So I come back through here and went over here and looked in the window, and I couldn't see anything in there. So I went back through and unlocked the door, and it opened just as easy as could be. And it never had done that before or after. And one of the other girls, the first year I started, 401 done her the same way. And there was no way that people could get in or off of the roof or anything, And so she went down to the front desk and asked them if anyone was in there. And they said no. And they went back up there with her, and it opened easy. And but she swore someone was holding that door.
Well, I've been with the Crescent Hotel for about a year, and it's about 2 months after I started working at the Crescent. I was up in 307, and I had heard that at one time that this was a girls' school, and I heard bells, and it was about 11:30, and it rang about 4 times, and then it stopped, and I didn't think anything of it. And 2 or 3 days later, I heard the bells again. So I went and asked one of the other employees about if they had heard any bells when I heard it, and they said no. So all I can think of is I had heard the bells ring, but no one else heard it, and there's no other bells around here except for the old church bell, and that doesn't ring except on Sundays.
My daughter was working here for a while, and she lost her pillowcases. They just disappeared out of nowhere, and I told her to tell Michael to bring them back, that you needed them. So she did as she was going out the door to get some more, and when she came back in, there were her pillowcases underneath the couch, where we had looked already. There were no pillowcases there before. She thought that was pretty humorous that he would listen to her. We blame a lot of things on Michael. There was a woman checked out of 218. She and her 2 daughters had stayed in there, and they moved a rollaway in for her. She was sitting on the rollaway, wide awake, hadn't gone to bed yet. Her 2 daughters were laying in the bed, and she said she was sitting there and they were talking, and her bed started rolling. Those rollaways don't move. They have wheels, but once they're put down, they don't move very easily. And we had a couple check out, I guess it's been a month ago. The woman said that for as long as she's worn a watch, she's put it on the nightstand. She takes it off just as she sits on the bed and lays down and goes to sleep. When she woke up, her watch was not to be found. Well, it was in the bottom of her purse. And the man said, well, that's nothing. Said, my shaver was in the bathroom when I went to bed, and this morning when I woke up, it was in the windowsill in the parlor. I thought that was pretty humorous. He's not mean, he's just mischievous, ornery fella.
We were riding up the elevator, we're going to go to the top and work our way down, and the elevator stopped on the 2nd floor. And I looked out and there wasn't anybody out there, and I asked a friend to hold the door open. And I went down, I looked to the right of the hall, and I looked to the left of the hall, looked down the stairs, and there wasn't anybody inside. So I started walking back towards the elevator door had shut. And I caught a glimpse of something, and I was pulling my eye, and I looked, and there's a mirror there set right by the elevator, and I looked, and I seen a girl in the mirror. She was done up in like an old-style school uniform, and her hair was done up in a bun up in the back, and she didn't say anything to me, but she just looked, and she had this real pitiful look on her face, real sorrowful, but she looked up. That's all she did. And then the elevator door came back open, and I walked in the elevator, and I told my friends what I'd seen. And of course, they didn't believe any of that, and I just said, well, let's continue going on to the top. When we got to the top, to the observation deck, as soon as I was the first one out the door, as soon as I opened the door, I heard a woman scream. And I ran over to the edge, and I seen a woman falling, going straight down, and she was looking up. And she fell, she hit, and that was all I seen. There wasn't anything else there. Now, I've heard stories about a girl that supposedly committed suicide by jumping off the top. I really don't think she's committed suicide. I really think she was pushed. But that's pretty much the extent of what I've seen and heard. You can walk through these halls just about at night, and you can just feel it as you walk through the halls, especially the second and third floors. Especially those floors you just walk and you can just feel them. You catch glimpses of ghosts walking around the corner. You get to that corner, there won't be anybody there, you know. It'll look as real, you know, as dark as it is out there. It'll look like someone's actually turning that corner. You get there, there won't be nobody there at all.